Greetings everyone, hope you're all doing well. Melderon here in another classic WoW Shaman guide. Now, it's been a while since I made one of these, but there's something significant we have to talk about with the upcoming AQ40 that's being released as early as next week, depending on your realm. If you're a Shaman, and if you're a healer or Elemental, there is a tier 2.5 set that you may want to get your eyes on and may want to get, depending on your role in your raid and what you want to do in PvP, or if you're an Elemental Shaman wanting to do some DPS. Now, the tier 2.5 set, what it actually does for Shaman, the 3-piece set actually has a chance to proc, a 20% chance to proc, a increase in nature spell power, and the 5-piece actually reduces the cast time of Chain Heal by 0.4 seconds. Now, if you're a Resto Shaman, you might think to yourself, okay, a reduction in chain heal, that sounds interesting, but what am I losing? Am I losing spell power? Things like that. And there is a significant drop in spell power, and there are some other potential downsides to this type of build, or using these gear sets. However, I want to talk to you about, Egregious. If you don't know, Egregious and I run the Classic Shaman Discord. A link to that Discord will be in the description. We have about 17,000 active members, and we talk about a lot of these things. And if you're not part of that community and you are a Shaman, I highly recommend becoming part of that community because we talk about this stuff all day. And we also have special channels to talk about theory crafting, parsing, how to increase your throughput, and Egregious and I are both active in there, and we talk about these things all the time. But I want to go over some math that Egregious has done. Now, most Shaman in endgame are healers, therefore they're a Resto, and your primary concern is the healing counterpart of this gear set and what it can do for you. So I'm going to go over some numbers that Egregious actually did. He calculated using his Resto Shaman simulator, which I'll put a link in the description for that as well if you want to play with these numbers yourself, use the gear and see how it works. So let's pretend we're in a 60-second encounter, and that could be a trash encounter, boss encounter, whatever it could be. And in that 60-second encounter, if you are the tier 2.5 Shaman, which you have 5 pieces of tier 2.5 and 3 pieces of tier 2, you do not want to lose out on that tier 2 3-piece bonus. If you don't know what that does, it increases the amount of healing done by your chain heal to your secondary and tertiary targets by 30%. That is BIS for the rest of the game. You'll be using at least 3 pieces of tier 2 for the rest of the game to increase your healing throughput. And if you want to go through some more numbers about this and how this is done, there are 2 guides that I've already done, actually the Resto Shaman guide, which I'll put up on here in the description below if you want to go over that. And then there's also progressive best in slot list that Egregious created for every raid tier in Classic WoW. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. This is like the Resto Shaman Bible, if you will, and we use this every week. My Shamans and I in my raid, we go through this stuff all the time. We talk about what is the best upgrade for this situation, what gear am I looking for, and things like that. So I recommend you looking through these things. I'll put all the links in the description. Whenever I make a video, guys, I reference a lot of things, and I always put links in the description to show you where those places are. Okay, so let's go into the math itself. In that 60-second encounter, the tier 2.5 Shaman with the tier 2 3-piece, let's pretend he has 865 plus healing, and he has about 10% crit, or 9.24% crit. In that time, you'll be able to put out 28 casts. And if you're using Chain Heal rank 1, your raw output would be about 58,000 healing. If you're using rank 2 exclusively, you'll be putting out 64 to 65,000 healing, and rank 3, 75,000 healing. Now, if you are a tier 2 3-piece with the healing offset pieces, so this is a Shaman who still uses that tier 2 3-piece for that 30% extra secondary and tertiary target increased healing, and then uses the offset pieces, Boots of Pure Thought, Salamander Scale leggings, things like that. You'll be putting out 57,000 healing with Chain Heal rank 1, 62,000 with Chain Heal rank 2, and 70,000 with Chain Heal rank 3. So if you'll see, there's a percent increase of 4.8 to 7.6% depending on your rank of Chain Heal used if you're using the tier 2.5 set bonus. And that's with the difference in plus healing. As you can see, there's about 200 less healing using 2.5. Even with that reduction in healing, you're still putting out more raw power than the tier 2 Shaman is with the off pieces. Now, what does that mean? In the next slide here, we have, I'll just read what Egregious said because it's better to put it in his words. And thank you, Egregious, for doing this calculations. This means that there's a significant stoppage of casting that you could theoretically do significantly more than the tier 2.5 Shaman. So if you are a tier 2 Shaman, if there's any break in healing, you could potentially put out more healing than a tier 2.5 Shaman. Every time you have to start healing back up to land a new heal, it's essentially starting the encounter from square one. The HPS, healing per second, would be determined by who is better predictor of incoming damage and who is more accurate with their healing. Additionally, if healing windows are only 3 to 4 casts long, the tier 2 3-piece plus healing off-piece shaman may land the same number of heals into incoming damage as the tier 2.5 5-piece with tier 2 3-piece, resulting in more overall healing. It also means that under the same circumstances and given the same reaction time and predictive abilities, the tier 2.5 shaman will definitely get into the initial damage first. However, if that damage is not sustained, it could reasonably fall off compared to the standard cast time. It all comes down to damage intervals, on-boss encounters, and trash. What does that all mean? If there is significant stoppage in healing, the tier 2.5 plus the tier 2 3-piece shaman is going to fall off compared to the tier 2 with the off-piece shaman. Now, that in itself, if you're worried about healing parsing, could be a problem, but if you're a healer, your primary job is to make sure people don't die. Your primary job is not to parse. Parsing, in my opinion, is always secondary. Some people may disagree with that, but it's all about how much healing you're able to put out and effective healing you're able to put out, not overhealing, correct? And that's what I always tell my shaman. And I guess the answer to the question is, and when we started this presentation is that is it worth getting this? And it is, but not your entire shaman core. We run 7 shaman in my guild. We have a bench rotation, so we only have 6 in a raid at any time. What we're planning on doing is having 1, perhaps 2 shaman equipped with this healing set. Now, of those 6 shaman, 2 of them are tank healers, so they're wearing tier 1. And then the remaining 4 are raid healers. So we're going to split our shaman raid healing core, 4 shaman, into 2 with this set, tier 2.5, and then 2 without tier 2.5, with the healing off pieces, more HPS, slower chain heals. The key here, guys, and the reason why this gear set is so important is that you should stagger the healing waves, not healing wave, the actual spell, but the waves of healing that are coming out in your raid. If you can stagger that, you can kind of have a constant barrage of healing. And if you are a shaman, you'll probably notice that what will happen is if you're all tier 2 3-piece, you'll have these constant barrages of healing that come in the same packets. You see damage go off. Think of Broodlord Lashslayer when he does that knockback. Everyone gets damaged in that 1 second, and all the shamans start casting at the same time. If you can imagine a similar scenario happening in A40, and now you have these tier 2.5 shaman, they're able to beat you guys to the punch, and then you finish off with a stronger punch if you're a raid healer with the tier 2 3-piece and the off-healing pieces. As you can see, what I'm trying to say here is that you have these staggered waves of healing that come in, and that quicker healing from the tier 2.5 shaman is complemented by the more powerful healing that comes behind it. So from a raid healing standpoint, it's definitely imperative, I would say, to get this set out to at least 1 shaman in your raid to have that staggered healing pulses that come through. And that's going to be really interesting, and I think you're going to really see the benefit of that as AQ40 progresses. As, you know, Nax comes out, everyone's going to want to get that tier 3 plus the tier 2 3-piece. You're still going to keep that, and that's something you'll have to look at the list, ahn'qiraj's list, and it'll show you exactly what pieces you're going to prioritize over the others. You should try to get as much tier 2 as possible, especially the head, the bracers, the belt, and the gauntlets. Those are the 4 pieces you want to have in your inventory as a raid healing shaman. All shamans should get those 4 pieces, so that's what you're going to mix and match with to be able to use your tier 2 3-piece. The 2 downsides, the 2 caveats here are that the tier 2.5 shaman, if your chain heals are coming out every 2.1 seconds instead of 2.5, you can imagine that your mana efficiency is going to dive down pretty quickly. And that means 2 things. 1, you're going to run out of mana, and then the second thing, which is complementary to that first thing, is you're going to have to use more consumables. So the hero that has these 2.5 piece, the hero that you're going to designate, or healers, maybe 2 that you're going to designate to have this gear, you're going to make sure that they're comfortable using consumables at a much higher rate than your other shaman are. It's imperative they keep their mana pool high and are able to keep that, you know, keep that healing going, correct? So something to just keep in mind, those are the 2 things to worry about, is your mana pool will run out quickly, and then inherently related to that, you'll have to use more consumables. The goal of this is to create that team, that shaman team of the fast healers that are able to get that healing in quick if they need to for emergency situation, and have those backups, more powerful chain heals coming out. And we can meme all we want about how chain heal is the only thing shamans use, raid healing shamans use, but it's a very, very powerful spell. It's the only smart heal in the game. It is, in my opinion, the best raid heal in the game by far, and we have to use it as smartly as we can, correct? You don't want to just spam chain heal like you're just going out of style. You want to use it at the right times, on the right target, so it bounces to the right target. So all I'm trying to say here, guys, is that it's imperative to make sure that some of your raiders get this. Now let's go over some of the more numbers and nitty-gritty here. What are the pieces? So there's boots, helm, shoulder, pants, and chest. So the tier 2 pieces you want to keep are bracers, gloves, and belt. Bracers, gloves, and belt from tier 2, and then boots, helm, shoulders, pants, and chest from tier 2.5. So that's what you're going to be wearing as a tier 2.5 shaman. If you see, I put the bonus above me here, negative 0.4 seconds of the Cat's Temper chain heal spell, reducing it to 2.1 seconds. The boots can drop off of Viscidus or Princess Huhuran. The helm can drop off of Embler Veclor. The Stormcaller's pauldrons drop off of Viscidus and Princess Huhuran. The Stormcaller leggings drop off of Oro, and the Stormcaller hauberk drops off of Cthulhu. So there are multiple bosses that these can drop off of. And remember, you need to have certain reputation requirements with the Brood of Nozdormu, which you get rep from doing AQ40 and quests that are associated with AQ40. And then there's those idols and scarabs that drop. You need, and I put all the numbers here for you. You look at this list, you'll see exactly how many of the numbers you need to get these pieces. Also, something to realize is that the amount of reputation required is different for each piece. So the boots require neutral, the shoulders require neutral, while the helm and pants require friendly, and the chest requires honored. So you won't be able to get this until you're the full tier 2.5 piece until you're at least honored with the Brood of Nozdormu. Something to keep in mind as well. Another thing to keep in mind is that the piecings that drop, the Qiraji bindings, the Veclor's diadem, the skin of the Great Sandworm, all these pieces are shared with different classes. They're not always the same classes. So your prioritization in your raid may be different depending on who needs what. But again, if you're a Horde raid, Shamans will be very high on this list, up there with tanks, to get these pieces first, because the raid healing benefits will be great, in my opinion, and many others' opinions as well, especially Egregious and others in the Shaman Discord. Study this list, know what pieces you need, know what other pieces you need to turn in the quests that are associated with them, the idols, the scarabs, how much rep you need, etc. This, hopefully, the list will help you get to a point where you're comfortable knowing what you need to get these pieces. So let's use the Classic WoW Live gear planner to go over some potential comparison points here between gear sets. So let's go over the tier 2 shaman who's wearing the offset pieces. This is your Big Bang raid healer. This is not tier 2.5. So this is the gear that I currently have. As you can see, I have a tier 2 3 piece. I have helmet, bracers, and gauntlets, and this gives me that increased amount of my chain heal to targets beyond my first by 30%. Okay, now my healing power here is 738. This is without enchants, guys. My crit is about 7.28%. Command select is 248, so about 5,000 mana. Now this is what I currently wear, and again, you may have better pieces. You may have pure Elementium band. For comparison purposes, we're just going to compare with what I have to a tier 2.5 shaman. So that looks like a shaman who's wearing the tier 2.5 with the same offset pieces, same rings, same trinkets. You can see the healing power is significantly lower, 575. The mana is higher, so you're going to have a higher base intellect, and you have a higher crit. So not only are you going to have that faster chain heals, but you're going to have more mana, which is good because you're going to burn through your mana quicker, and you'll have more crit, so more chance to proc Ancestral Fortitude. This could be really powerful, obviously, to get more of that added armor out too. And then on top of this, remember Scarab Brooch, which is an amazing trinket. I'll put it up here for you to see. Scarab Brooch has the chance of proccing a shield on your targets that you heal. So the more chain heals that are going out, the more potential Scarab Brooch absorbs they're going to go out as well. So as you can see here, just comparison, yes, you have less healing power. However, you have more base mana, more base crit, and more chances to proc Scarab Brooch if you were lucky enough to get that item, and I highly recommend that item. It's Egregious's favorite trinket in the game, and just so you can see the comparison here. So obviously less spell power, however, again, more throughput in a unit of time. Potentially in a unit of time. And that could be good or bad. It depends on the situation. If there are, like Egregious said, if there's breaks in healing, you're going to fall below the raid healing shaman, but that really isn't something you should be concerned about. You're concerned about as much healing as you can do for your raid and complementing your raid healing core. Now that we went over healing, that's basically the story there. Let's go over if you are an elemental shaman. And if you are an elemental shaman, you should be using Tamaka's spreadsheet. If you're not using Tamaka's spreadsheet, you're doing it wrong, to be perfectly honest. Now, there is a link to the Classic Elemental Shaman Discord also in the description where you can actually go use the spreadsheet, but we're going to use just a basic tier 2.5 in your arsenal as an elemental shaman to do DPS. It's potentially could be better than using a full Bloodvine set. I know you do lose hit rating, but you do gain some spell power here, and it could be definitely good use in certain circumstances. So this is what your loadout would be if you don't have Mishandari. Mishandari is a great piece to have. If you don't have Mishandari, you're going to be using the headpiece, the chest, and the shoulders. And that 3-piece tier 2.5 gives you 20% chance on your lightning bolt, chain lightning, and shock spells to get 50 nature damage. So this is great. So after you hit with a spell, you're able to get this proc, and then you get 50 nature damage for 8 more seconds. So 2 more, maybe 3 more of your casts will have an additional 50 spell power. Nature, so your lightning spells, or your earth shock, which you probably won't be using in raiding. So just again, this is what your loadout will look like. You have approximately 11% spell crit. In this current set, you get 8% hit. I have some, Band of Force concentration here, items that have hit rating on them. You still have Bloodvine boots and Bloodvine leggings. You still have that, so you're still able to get some hit, and then you get your 3% from Nature's Guidance, so it'll be around 11% hit in this piece, and you'll have about 485 spell power. Now, if you do have Mission Dari, it looks a little bit different. You're going to be using the shoulders, the chest, and the legs, and in this, you will have more crit, 13% crit. You have a little bit less spell power, only 5 less spell power. You'll have a little bit more crit, but you'll have less hit. It depends on what you have. If you're lucky enough to have Mission Dari, you should run Mission Dari, obviously. So, okay, so this is if you're an Elemental Shaman. Now let's go over PvP. Now, I just got recently rank 11. I haven't been PvPing after that. I've been kind of burned out for PvP, to be perfectly honest. But this is what I was wearing. I was wearing the 5-piece tier 2, and this gives you 3% more crit with nature spells. Pretty powerful. So my 5-piece here are the helmet, the shoulders, the belt, the legs, and the boots. And in here I have 17.29% crit. That's not including talents. It's not including the 11% additional crit you get from talents. And I have about 267 spell power. And this is with tier 2 shoulders. You could also run Deep Earth Spalders. You'll have 294 nature spell power. You have a little bit less crit, but remember, you'll have extra spell power. And if you're proccing Elemental Mastery, you should always be wearing this gear set, because you have a guaranteed crit with Elemental Mastery. You don't need the crit, right? You should have a different gear set if you're proccing Elemental Mastery. If that cooldown's up, you're going to wear this gear set, and then after that, I go back to tier 2 shoulders. So I have a little different setup depending if I have Elemental Mastery or not. So what you're looking at here is about 294 maximum spell power, 16 to 17% crit. Now, if you have tier 2.5, so this is going head, shoulders, and chest. So you actually have more spell power than you did with the older gear, and you don't lose that much crit, to be perfectly honest. You only lose about 2% crit. Again, something you want to play around with, but I wanted to show you the differences. And you can go back and forth in this video and look at the gear yourself, just rewind and go back and rewind and go back. I try to put everything up here so you can see it and hope it's a good comparison. Now, here's what the gear set looks like if you're using all 5 pieces: head, shoulders, chest, legs, and boots. Now, here you have even more spell power, 341 spell power. You lose only a little bit of crit because there's crit built into tier 2.5 as well. Now you have 15% crit. You lost less than half of a percent crit, and now you've gained over 40 spell power. 341 spell power now. This is not including enchants, 15% chance to crit. So guys, all I wanted to do with this video is show you that tier 2.5, whether you're an Elemental Shaman DPSing, an Elemental Shaman doing PvP, or a Resto Shaman, it's something you want to get your hands on eventually for all Shaman, and I really stress that. It's going to take some time, but the main focus of this video is equip at least one of your raid healing shaman with tier 2.5 5-piece to stagger your chain heal pulses that are going out into your raid. You may want to get a second one as well. And the second part of this video is to understand that there are some downsides to it. Your mana efficiency is going to be a little bit less. You're going to have to use more consumables. You may have potentially higher chances to parse or lower chances to parse depending on the situation, on the trash pull, on the boss. Regardless, if you're one of these shaman that want to get these pieces, and I'm hoping you already did this already, but if you haven't, talk to your raid leads, talk to your shaman class lead, and if you want to volunteer to be this type of shaman, more the experimental shaman here, and helping out the other raid healers by putting that initial healing burst, then yeah, talk to them and see if this is something you want to do. I highly recommend at least 1 or 2 of you in the raid doing this. Secondarily, if you're an Elemental Shaman doing DPS, always reference Tamaka's guide and Tamaka's spreadsheet in the Classic Elemental Shaman Discord, but it's something that you should definitely try to get your hands on as well. And for PvP, if you're lucky enough to be one of those first shaman to get it and you want to go respec for the week and go blow some people up, I think it's going to be a really cool set to use in PvP as well. So guys, as always, this is all my shaman guys. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, Melderon #1287 on Discord. You can always find me in the Classic Shaman Discord. The link will be in the description below. Again, 17,000 active members. We're a huge community. Definitely come and join us. And there are many other people if I'm not available to talk to. Egregious is super active on there. Always free to talk to people about healing, essentially healing. And if you have questions about Elemental, you can go to the Classic Shaman Discord. We have a lot of Elemental people there from the Elemental Shaman Discord. We have specific questions that you want to talk to, maybe Tamaka or Javon, people like that. Again, I did a guide with Javon a couple months ago on Elemental Shaman exclusively. I'll put the link to that description as well. So there'll be a lot of links down there, but definitely go check that out. The Shaman community is very open. We want to talk to people and we want to get involved in your theory crafting and your questions and make your experience as a shaman a better one. And that's the whole point of the Classic Shaman Discord and the Elemental Shaman Discord. So again, thanks again, guys. Keep on and grinding. I'll see you on the next Classic WoW guide, the next Shaman guide. I do have some TBC stuff coming along the way too, so stay tuned for that. Take it easy, guys. Have a good one. See you in the next one.